Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby.
Look,
We're
I
really
can't see it
excited
again.
actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
I still can't see it. It's
I
so
don't know
weird.
what's going on with you.
Yeah, this is so weird. I'm at this point. I think it's just my computer that's ancient, but whatever. It is what it is. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show. This is it, right? This is our final episode of the regular season. But we're gonna be here all season long. Trust that. But we
Good
always
basketball team.
yeah. We'll see if basketball can cheer us up a little bit, but obviously at end of the season, we're kind of hoping to get into a bowl, become bowl eligible, and that went downhill really quickly. So there's a lot to get to today. I want to do things. I kind of want to go through some grades of what you guys feel and how you guys, how you guys feel about every position on the field, including coaching, players, and who you feel you want back, right? Not necessarily who you think is not going to be back, but who you want back. We're in the business of lifting up some of these players, giving them some props as well, but also we're going to criticize because that's what we're here for. We want to be able to, let you guys know that we love the U, we love the Miami Hurricanes and their football program, but a lot of changes need to be made. I think that, and a lot of things need to change. Period. Whether it's actual physical changes, or if it's everything else. So we'll get into that a little bit. I do want to give a shout out to PrizePicks today first. Vish, if we could pull up PrizePicks, they are an amazing sponsor here, the Six Rings Kings and Five Reasons Sports Network. It's real simple, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, just go to PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5 FIVE. That's the word 5 FIVE, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. It's real simple. Here's how it works: you choose 2 to 5 players. Okay, it could be from any league, from any sport. You can mix and match them, which is really great. So you can go from the NFL to Major League Baseball, college football to F1. Now they have introduced F1, which is pretty cool. So they've introduced Formula One as well. So you can kind of mix and match, choose the over-under on individual categories, which I'm really interested to see how they do the individual categories for F1. Obviously, we won't be able to see that till the end of February, March of next year. So, but that'll be kind of cool to watch. But like I said, mix and match between 2 to 5 players. It all depends on how much money you want to win. Go ahead and choose the over-under on their individual categories and see the money stack up. Make sure you go to prizepicks.com. Enter the code FIVE. That's the word 5, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. Make sure you check them out. PrizePicks.com. Hey, so Miami again, drops another game. The season finale to Pitt by a score. I believe it was 42-16, if I'm not mistaken. Some rinky-dinky touchdowns there for the Canes towards the end of the game, but anything that can kind of go wrong is still going wrong. You've got, you bring in Tyler Van Dyke, starts the game. He drives down the field and throws that interception deep in the red zone there for Miami, and then gets clobbered, and that was it. That was all she wrote for him. And we all knew that as soon as that happened, it was game over, right? They came out to a quick 28-0 lead, and there was no turning back from that. So, you know, I don't want to get too deep into the game, but I do want to get your takes, all three of you, on just what you saw, what you sensed out there. Because I can tell you this, right? I can tell you just from watching the game, it looked like there was some players that were completely checked out from the get go. There was just no effort, no intensity, no nothing from some of the players that were on the field and some of the players that were on the bench. Right, you can see it. You can just you had that feeling, okay. And then you saw some guys that were out there and they were giving it their all. They were giving 150% effort. They were balling until their legs came off, and so it's interesting to see that dynamic. And now you kind of look and see, hey, this is a guy that wants to be here. This is a guy that really doesn't care. And again, that's what Mario Cristobal is here for, right? He's here to weed all that out, get the guys in here that believe in the program, that believe that they want to be here, they want to make a change, and they want to get us back to prominence. So we'll start off with you, Blue, on this. Your thoughts on the game as a whole, and what you saw, how you felt about the performance from the Canes, besides the obvious, right? Like, we look like crap, but like what you felt from the players and from the coaches, of course.
Well, first of all, you are who you are. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, there's games and there's times this year that we might have tried to, rationalize, hey, this, that, and we could have won this, or we weren't even in the game. I mean, after that happened, then it just slid away. Miami looked like a remedial team. Very few guys. I mean, even the guys that they started bringing in on the transfer portal that looked good in game 1, 2, 3, and 4 haven't looked pretty good. I mean, Caleb Johnson, guys like that they just were average guys. I mean, they were, as my friend would say, they're just another inmate in the asylum. I mean, they're just not, they're who they were. Giving up. Well, there's parts of the team that were just not talented enough. So they might have looked like they were giving up because they were getting beat or they were getting mismatched. But you're right. The guys who, I mean, Will Mallory, he wanted to go out with a bang. He wanted to go out with one of those games that, one of those things that, someone would say, hey, well, you were 5-7 and you guys sucked. He goes, yeah, but you know what? I busted my butt in the last game, and I'll have something positive. And Lou Headley punted 200 times. So, I mean, he was worried that he wouldn't punt. Wow. He was wrong. Yeah, but the guys who, the senior class, and I watched them beforehand, in the press box as they introduced all the seniors that were, leaving, and their families were there, and Mario Cristobal hugging them and thanking them for the year. And, and he probably apologized a billion times. Sorry you went out like this. But, yeah, a lot of these guys, Scaife and people like that left, you always, if you're an underclassman, you always say to yourself, I don't want to go out like this. Let's bust our tail and let's make sure that this senior class doesn't go out like this. And sometimes you just don't have enough talent. And Miami didn't have the talent. They didn't have the talent to match up with basically anybody on their schedule, with the exception of Southern Mississippi and a Texas A&M team that really, turned out to be just an average football team. And certainly Bethune-Cookman. Other than that, they really were against it all year, talent-wise. I mean, this is one year I tell my buddy who has always told me, oh, Miami's got more talent than anybody on their roster and they're not winning. Yeah, they didn't have that this year. Sorry. They just weren't as talented. There's you look at, I think we brought back, other than Kitchens and maybe, a couple of other guys, Miami just didn't have the talent. So it's time for change. It's time, because if somebody leaves or stays and everybody bitches and moans about it, you go, they sucked. So what's the difference? What's the difference if this guy's gone or this coach is gone? I mean, if they were 7-5 and they came within a couple of points of being 9-4 or whatever, 9-3, you say to yourself, wow, I mean, it's tough to, blame it on this guy or that guy. But as I sat back and watched this entire staff, I mean, everybody's to blame. And I'm sure Mario Cristobal, they're going to have interviews with each coach and they're going to evaluate each other. And I'm sure he'll have it privately with them and say, listen, first of all, you never maximized what you had. I mean, we looked terrible, and a lot of the Florida State game was a total embarrassment. This Pittsburgh game was no better. We looked like crap against Duke, and and Mario's just got to say, you know what? I appreciate what you did. Thank you for coming, and spending the year, and but it's time to move on. It's time to move on. It's like having the ace in poker. You get rid of the rest of the hand and just keep your ace. And
I think he's going to have some really tough conversations with not only the players but the coaching staff as well.
yeah,
because
well, that's what I'm saying, Jazz.
yeah, you definitely nailed it on the head with that. I mean, you got some coaches that he's going to sit there and gonna say, "Hey, we understand that you're an accomplished coach and you've done this, that, and the other, but you didn't do it here."
Right.
And whether you're not motivated or not, if you're not motivated to be here and to help these kids and to get us to where you need to be, then you need to be somewhere else. If you are going to show me that you are motivated to be here, screw your accomplishments from before.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you're Coach Steele, Strong, Gaddis, whoever it is, right? If you're not motivated to be here and to do what you need to do here because you're resting on your laurels and you're going back to say, well, I've done so much already. That speaks for itself. No, that's not the way it works. You're going to have those conversations with those coaches for sure. I think that it's going to be important. DJ, what are your thoughts on just overall performance this past weekend?
I didn't like the performance at all. I mean, it's not how you want, like Blue said, the senior class to go out, and it's kind of, I won't say a fitting end, but it's a disappointing end to what has been really an up and down season. You look at this entire season, and honestly, the first game that really set off alarm bells for me, all joking aside, was the Middle Tennessee State game. And that to me really showed that, maybe things weren't going to be as easy as it seemed. And then we kind of progressed through the ACC schedule, and that's when our lack of depth and lack of talent came into play. And, there's a lot of work to do here. And Saturday was just, another measure of, how does Miami stack up against a decent team? They didn't stack up well on Saturday. So I'll be interested to see, like you guys said, those conversations and, what changes are going to be made for next year.
It's funny that that's a great statement that you said. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here. Are the coaches and the players that are going to be here ready to do that? And if you're not, you need to move on. Vish, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's the same way the year played out, right? It was the offense could move with Van Dyke but couldn't score. And then other than that, it was crap. And we kind of saw that, including, screwing up the kickoff just to start the game, like right off the bat, tries to run it out when you can fair catch and start the 25, start the 11 instead. Drove 85 yards and threw an interception. I mean, this is the season. It's exactly how they're. And then Van Dyke's on the ground injured, and you're like, oh, here we go again.
That's
right. It's exactly the whole season. It was like Blue said, you are who you are, and that is exactly how this team played. Moved the ball with Van Dyke and couldn't score. A lot of turnovers and injuries, and it came apart fast on Saturday. And to your question about attitude, I do think there were a lot of players on this team that, several of them came out and announced they were going to the portal already. I think there's a lot of them that were half in the portal before that game started and just did not want to be playing that game, and that probably showed up because you could tell the ones that did. Like Blue called out Mallory, he was all over the field. Yep. I think he got screwed on that fumble call because his left elbow was down. Frankly.
He was down.
I don't know how the hell they didn't overturn that, but he was playing his butt off till the end of the game. There were a few other guys that you could tell want to still be here that were, and I frankly think a lot of them would have rather lost that game than play a bowl game, the way that their attitude was. So, all it took was one thing to go wrong at the beginning, and they caved in. And it's unfortunate, but like you said, there's going to be a bloodletting here.
What's really telling for me as well from this team, and we'll get into player specifics now in just a second. But what's really telling to me was the amount of players that after the game stood up to address the team. And I'm sure you guys will get this right, but can any of you guess how many actually did stand up and talk to the team and give them a speech and talk to them about everything after the football game? How many do you think did that?
Cam did.
One player,
Cam
Kitchens. And he's a sophomore on this team. It's a sophomore football player on a team that is, I don't want to say full of seniors because I don't think they have a large senior class, but full of veteran guys that have been here 4, 5, 6 years. Okay, you're talking about Cam Kitchens is the only player that stood up and addressed the team after. And I know a lot of us know what his words were, basically saying if you want to be here, then you need to be ready to grind. Okay, if not, get out of the way. And Cristobal reiterated it, and I'm fine with him saying that, right? If you're not going to be here and you're not going to bust your ass and you're not going to grind, then get out of the way for someone else to come in and do that, okay? Because Cam didn't want this taste in his mouth ever again. That shows to me the amount of leadership. And look, the truth is, Cam Kitchens he's an amazing person. He's probably a better person than he is a football player, okay? And that says a lot because the kid is a superstar. That's just the bottom line. The kid is an absolute superstar. And I wouldn't be surprised if next year he garners all-American consideration for next year. But that's enough about that. But that kind of tells you everything about this football program and where it's at with the people that are supposed to be leaders and the players that are supposed to be leading this football team. So I think that says a lot.
It also is telling that when the guys that look like they're gonna talk publicly, how often they're talking about effort and putting work in,
right?
Which the logical conclusion there is that is not being done right now by everyone.
Yeah. And by the way, that includes the coaching staff. It is what it is. It is what it is. I know Coach Cristobal, would always say we're going back to the drawing board. We're going back to practice. We're fixing those things that we're correcting them, and then we're coming. And they weren't being corrected, right? They weren't happening. And whether it's a result of poor coaching or if it's a result of the player not wanting to, because that happens, right? You're accustomed to doing it one way, and they continuously tell you you're doing it wrong. You don't want to adjust. Well, then that's a you problem too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, but I think specifically it's a lot of the players being very vocal about, if you're going to be here, you have to work hard. I think there was probably a pretty significant.
But I don't think that those players that are saying that are not. Maybe they're not necessarily not working hard. I think they might be like the DJ Ivies of the world.
No, they're not. It's not them not working hard. They're seeing their teammates not working hard.
Right.
You can see you don't come out and say things like DJ Ivies is a great example. For all of his limitations, the reason he was always on the field is because he was busting his ass, and I think it speaks to some of these maybe higher regarded players that maybe aren't doing that.
Right.
And I think that he comes out and says that Cam comes out and says that, that multiple other players saying some variation of, everyone has to work hard. Basically, the subtext is it can't just me and these 4 other guys working hard while you guys are all goofing off.
Right.
I mean, he's not, they're going to say that's explicitly outside, but that's the implication is that. Now, obviously, like you said, the coaches have a lot to answer for, too. They're getting paid millions of dollars to do whatever the hell that was this year. So there's certainly played to go there as well. But, and from an effort standpoint, I think based on everything we've seen come out, over the last week, looks like the effort just wasn't being put in as well.
I agree. So let's do this. Let's do this real quick. We'll go around the horn position by position on your thoughts on – let's put it this way, a grade. Okay, let's do a grade. Let's do who and then who you think should be back. Okay, who you think should be back from that specific group, or who you want back. Okay, so we'll start off with the defense. On the defensive side of the ball, we'll start off with the secondary, and that includes cornerbacks and safeties. Right. Real quick, the safety position was supposed to be a strong position for us this year, with Avante and James Williams and Cam and even some of the backups like Brian Balaam and Keyshawn Washington there. So some of those guys we know obviously are not going to be here. Keyshawn Washington has already entered the transfer portal. I don't want to really talk on guys like Markeith Williams or some of these, because those are young freshman guys that barely got any time. You already saw that if you put 15 pounds, 20 pounds on Markeith Williams, he may not ever leave the field. So the kid is pretty damn good, but he's still young and he still needs to grow and he still needs to develop a little bit. And we saw glimpses of what he can do when he played in mop-up time. But overall, as a whole, that the secondary, including the cornerbacks, we'll start off with you, DJ, on your grade, your assessment of that group, and who you think you want to see come back.
I have to say that when push came to shove and Miami started to face stronger opponents like Duke, UNC, the secondary had strong moments this season, but they just didn't seem like they were able to put it all together at times. I noticed a lot of blown coverages, missed assignments, and I understand that comes with installing a new defense. But, that group was very underwhelming for me. I thought they could have done better, especially with some of the veteran playmakers on that side of the football. As far as people coming back, I would probably have to say, I'm just trying to look up the roster in terms of classes here.
So give me a grade, A through F. What's your grade for the secondary?
C minus.
C minus. Okay.
Yeah. And I'd love to see a guy like Corey Couch come back. He is a junior, but overall, I think the secondary really struggled this year, and I wouldn't be upset if we saw new faces at that position. Let's just say that.
Okay. All right. That says a lot. Vish, your thoughts on the secondary as a whole.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm taking that you didn't say Cam Kitchens for obvious reasons, right? Like, I mean, he's that safety.
Safety, yeah, safety.
Well, I think if we just pick one or something, because it's going to get repetitive pretty quickly.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
But from a grade standpoint, D plus maybe. They too many big plays. Anyone competent, we're getting burned. I mean, that Middle Tennessee game, just an abomination. The number of times they gave up just long touchdown passes like that. That Kitchens was awesome. The rest of it, even Tyreek, left a lot to be desired this year, and he obviously got thrown out of the last game for targeting. Just like, well, that's a great way to ice the cake of the season. But they're just not good enough. You gotta contain those big plays, and they just didn't do it. And the number of third and fourth and we talked about this all year, right? The number of third and fourth and longs we gave up, that is on the secondary.
Yeah, and
they just didn't get the job done at all.
Here's my thought, Blue. I am okay with, and again, we're talking about the guys that got significant playing time at both positions. For me, I'm okay with cleaning house at the cornerback position. I think we're going to see 3 brand new starters next year, and I think we need to see 3 brand new starters next year. I think Corey regressed. I think he had a lot of issues in coverage. The outside guys did as well. I think Tyreek might have been playing out of position a little bit. I think he probably could have been a big time safety. But that's neither here nor there. He played cornerback, right? He played it okay, but I think you're going to see a completely new revamped cornerback position. Safety was a big time disappointment with the exception of Cam Kitchens. You saw Avonte not play very well. You saw James Williams have a lot of issues as well. I'm with Vish. I'm giving it a D plus because Cam Kitchens was there. If not, it's an F for me. And I think that you're going to see a lot of changes and you're going to see a lot of guys from a recruiting standpoint, whether it's going to be the kids that are there now, the Kamari Rogers, Jaden Harris. I always forget the third one of the trio, Jaden Harris, Kamari Rogers, and Chris Graves, right? Whether it's going to be one of those 3 that are going to step up, who knows? Maybe one of those 3 is gone. But I think you're going to see a lot of changes there, Blue. I'm not excited with what happened this year. I'm going to give him a D plus. I think clean the whole thing out and get it started again. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna agree with you guys. Other than Cam, what do they have that really made plays? I mean, they had a lot of names, Darryl Porter, all these guys like that, but what they really have? Tyreek, and he wouldn't play safety on this team. Shoot, no, not even close. I mean, he's not better than what we have at safety right now. But that being said, I think there's going to be a come to Jesus meeting with James Williams. He's going to have to get in the box. Sorry. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later. He's just got to get in the box. He's going to be more productive that way. He's not a really good college safety. His cover skills have really, really gone downhill.
Yep.
So let him go after the quarterback. Let him get in the space over there with the with running back coming out of the backfield or tight ends. I definitely think he needs to be in the box. I don't see anybody else. I mean, Corey, I don't know if he regressed as much as he relied on other people to help him make plays last year. This year, he had to do too many things by himself. He didn't really, really look good at all. I think some of the young kids are going to be called upon, and I think that during the workout period in January and February and into March, I think that that they're going to have to say, listen, you guys want a job at this school, you're going to have to work for it. There's nobody else who's going to glide. That's it. You got crazy man Fells in there. Let him do his job. Let him get him crazy. I mean, let him work the weight room the way he should. And because I just didn't think Miami at times, if you watched them, they bounced off people. They weren't a very strong team. I mean, there was a lot of guys in the secondary that were getting mismatched. So that being said, I think it's a D, a generous D, because of one guy who was consistent. Now, I'm not saying that other people didn't make plays, but that's why
there's no consistency, right? Yeah,
but that's why they were 5-7, because some guys made plays this game and didn't make them the next. But Cameron made them straight across the board. I mean, you could give him virtually the game ball in every game, and if anybody ever said anything, they would be stupid.
Yeah.
But I saw this guy. I saw this guy in high school, and when Miami got him, I said, you know what? They stole him because, I watched him play, and he was always at Northwestern. He was always around the ball, always made plays, could do it all. So, yep, I got to agree with you guys on the lower half. I just
I'll tell you what, they're going to bring some guys in the portal.
They have
this year.
at every position, really.
Some bad men. They're going to bring some bad boys in the portal and recruiting as well. I think that recruiting, you're going to start to see some names pop up now in a little bit. These corners that they're looking at.
No, I agree with you.
It's going to be.
That's not like a magic bullet. Like I think Blue called this out earlier. Like some of the guys we thought were going to come in. I mean, other than Mesidor, like the portal guys. Didn't really do much. I mean, Caleb as well.
Caleb Johnson.
Colby.
Oh, Colby Young.
Yeah, sorry.
Colby made a good impression.
He did well there in the middle of the season. He was our best receiver, but like Daryl Porter could not crack this secondary.
Yeah.
That's
an average secondary.
I mean, that's problematic.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, but you got to remember also they brought guys in to evaluate those things, right? The transfer portal and evaluate players a little bit late, right? Yeah, Gary, you mentioned Parrish was definitely a godsend in the running back position. We'll get to that too in a second, but I think that you're gonna see a difference now in how they recruit the transfer portal and how they recruit some players now with a full year under their belt. They got the right guys in now. Zoe is a part of that equation where he wasn't last year. And now Andrew Rogers, who came in a little bit later, that whole entire recruiting staff, it's just a recruiting department is going to be a little bit different this year, I think. So you're going to see some changes. And yeah, it's not a magic bullet, but that's where it starts, right? And you got to be able to get the right guys, and you're not going to get hit on everybody. You're definitely not, right? But sometimes it's a little bit of a numbers game. At the end of the day, though, you got to develop these kids, Vish. You're absolutely right. You got to be able to develop them. Some of the guys that are going to come in, nobody's ever heard of them before, because I can guarantee you, with the exception of Blue, not one of us knew who Kobe Young was until Miami all of a sudden grabbed him. And Maybe Blue didn't even know who Kobe Young was. I
No,
don't know.
I
But
kind of knew him from
yeah, of
the
course you
junior
did.
college. But that's all right.
Yeah. But you know what I
Whatever
mean?
it is,
Like
it is. It's just
90% of the
that,
people didn't know who he was. So you're going to see a lot of that.
yeah,
And
you
I think
are. And
fans
we got
need
to
to
get Johnny.
realize that they need to relax. That they're not going to know everybody.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing. And I said it before. I'll continue to say it. This will be the most active transfer portal yet.
Oh,
The reason being is there's a lot of sophomores and juniors that are sitting at some of these teams saying, you know what? These freshmen haven't done anything yet, and they're getting all this money. Screw that. I want my money. I want what I'm worth, and I think you're going to see a lot. I don't care where they come from. They could come from Kansas. But the whole thing is I think that this is where Mario Cristobal becomes Mario Cristobal.
This is where
He's
he
a great
excels.
evaluator of talent. And this is where he gets an opportunity. And you've got a guy, and I reiterated, just like people were giving up saying, Alonzo Highsmith got, one guy from Texas. And Alonzo should be getting 100 guys. This is what he did for a living.
Yep.
This is what he did for a living with the Green Bay Packers. This is what he was all about. He evaluated talent and got these guys into the NFL. So I think that he's going to be valuable in this process. And if people keep reading into the fact that, nobody else can recruit, this is his job. He's getting some money for this. So let him do what he's good at. And I think Mario Cristobal will gladly step behind, because it just boggles my mind how people don't understand that Alonzo Highsmith was.
This is what they brought him here for.
He was making decent change in the NFL, and he left that job not because he wasn't good, but the very fact that he thought being a manager of a roster would probably suit him, especially his alma mater, and especially people, excuse me, that he's comfortable with. But like you said, Jazz, he was brought here for this. So I think he's going to be an integral part, because what's going to happen is you're going to get these transfer portal guys, and Mario's going to look to him and say, hey, what do you think? Let's evaluate this guy. Let's watch some film on what this kid did. Let's talk to some people character-wise, because between Mario, Highsmith, Ed Reed, how many billions of people do they know? So they're going to know people at every turn, and these people are going to always be, willing to say, the Jazz Santana kid. I'll tell you what, if he's only given a chance, I think he can be really, really, really special. So that's what they're going to go on. And they'll watch some film, and they'll see that Jazz did a tremendous job. He got into the backfield quite a few times. So that's what's going to happen. I think you've got the strengths in Alonzo Highsmith, Ed Reed too. I mean, Ed Reed's he's made it to the pinnacle, so obviously he knows. And then Mario is really good at this. And if Charlie Strong is still around, another guy who could help evaluate. They need evaluation of talent. I mean, you guys could make so much of the recruiting room, and all these guys that are coming in the recruiting room are just like Bad News Bears escorts. That's all they are. They're not going to really make a difference. Like everybody's, and I love Ryan Bartow at FSU, and he's a good guy, but he didn't get anybody. All he does is he welcomes people on the campus and talks to people. It's your regular core. It's Alonzo Highsmith. It's Mario Cristobal. It's guys like that really do your recruiting. And if they don't, then you lose. So I think that's what you're going to see a lot more of. And I'm not minimizing, and all the people listening are going to go, hey, Bluestein thinks you're like a joke. Nah, they're not jokes. They're just, administrative people. I mean, to me, that's all they do. I mean, if you're hiding a guy like, oh man, I'm thinking of it. What's his name? He used to be at Central. Now he's there.
Roland Smith.
Roland Smith. If you're hiding a Roland Smith, see, all Roland is right now is a glorified welcome to campus dude, and going out and getting the off season, getting the people. He should be in the mix. This is a guy that won 8 state titles. This is a guy that knows talent. Having Dennis Smith and all these guys like that on there is nice, to have a staff. But they're not going to make a decision to turn this damn program around. Be realistic. I've been in this for 52 years. I know that you don't have an opportunity with somebody just because you add them to your recruiting department that's going to make a difference. Your hardline coaches. Remember, Mario Cristobal is one of the best talent evaluators in the country. And that's what makes him a great football coach. So he's the one. He and Alonzo Highsmith can burn oil 25 days in a row and come up with a solution before any of the recruiting analysts can. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these guys. Like you said, Jazz, he's getting paid to do it. He did it at the NFL level. Let him step up and do it here.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say anything after that. You hit the nail right on the head. 100% agree.
Well, I'm not going to mince words anymore. I mean, because if you wear 9 and 4-3, we could walk on eggshells. But who's walking on eggshells now?
No way. You can't.
I look back, and Vish knows he was at a lot of the games. He saw a mediocre Virginia team. They took right down even a less than mediocre Virginia Tech team. That shouldn't be. And those are the things. Duke is built because they have 40-year-old kids. So obviously they're a lot more experienced and they've been around for a long time. But you can't be taking Virginia Tech and Virginia down to the wire. Come on. Their recruiting is nowhere near what Miami's is.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the linebackers who will never finish here today. Linebackers, really quick. This is going to be quick. I mean, when it comes to linebackers, it's Wesley Basainth and half of Corey Flagg, because Corey Flagg did get better. He did develop a little bit, but he's still a limited linebacker, right? He's limited in certain things he can do. He's very smart, very cerebral, but that doesn't mean that he can do everything from a physical standpoint, right? His attributes, he struggled in certain areas, but he still progressed. He still developed, and he looked decent. He looked like a decent college football linebacker, right? Yeah, he's not a guy that's going to start for a lot of Division I programs, big Power 5 teams, but he was here. He was a smart kid. He got better. He developed. He fought hard.
Producer. He's a producer.
To the very end. So I love to see that he was here and he was able to do the things he did. But aside from that, there was no other linebacker play except from Wesley, right? You saw some glimpses, and he made a little, some mistakes here and there. But the problem is, he's a freshman. He's going to make a couple mistakes here and there. But you saw his approach to playing the position, and he is going to be special. If you ask me, that's your catalyst for the linebacker.
Is Flagg going somewhere?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
You're kind of writing his epitaph there. He's only a sophomore.
It doesn't matter. Like, Mario? I'll be honest with you. He didn't play bad, but chances are he's not going to be a starter here next year. That's just how I see it.
I think
could he stay? Yes, I think he could stay.
I think Wes is starting. Who's starting? Who else is starting at linebacker?
But this is my point. He's going to bring in so many different guys. He's going to bring in so many new players that chances are your starting linebackers are going to be from the transfer portal. Your starting linebackers are going to be from the recruiting. Put it this way, nobody on this team right now on linebacker is bigger than any of the linebackers that we've already recruited that are coming in next year. None of them.
With the exception of Wesley.
Yeah, with the exception of Wesley and Chase Smith, but he's hurt. So, you can't really talk about Chase until he gets healthy and he comes into play. So,
but Jazz, Corey Flagg is one of the guys, and I've been on his bandwagon. He never gave up either. I mean, he was
not
there.
at all, not at all. But he's limited.
He is, but I would not be surprised if game one next year he's a starting linebacker. I'll tell you why, because we spent this entire year trying to replace him.
Yeah, with the guys that we had here now.
We went in the portal and got guys too, and they didn't perform. Like
Caleb Johnson ended up starting. I think, the end, right? I think starting like 4 or 5 games towards the end of the season, and with Wes. So I think we're overestimating the ability to just pull a bunch of guys in over the summer and have them starting in August.
I agree.
Because there's a pecking order. I'm sure some of those guys that you're talking about end up at like North Carolina or Alabama or one of those places before they come here.
I agree.
You're going to get kids. but you're not going to get like a.
And I'm talking, coming in. I don't think of. I guess I don't. It's not, frankly, based on what we see, it's not going to be hard to get guys that can upgrade the talent, right? But getting in there and starting on day one.
I'm just saying that from what I've heard, yeah, he's going to be in the 2 deep for sure. He will
That's
be in the 2
good.
deep.
So he'd be at Sam Houston State, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or he'll be on the 2 deep, or he'll be at Sam Houston State. Right. That's or at UTSA or something like that.
Or SMU.
Or SMU. We'll be starting.
I think SMU is going to be a landing spot for a few of the Miami Hurricanes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Doubt it. For Flag, I'd be surprised if he's not back. I think he's a good locker room guy, and
I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back. And I didn't want it to think like I wanted him out. I wanted him gone. I don't think that. I think he needs to be on this team. He's a leader, right? He's a smart guy.
Yeah,
he can help with the incoming class, with the players that are coming in. He can help with the guys that are here now that are going to stay. He's a great mentor type of player that can come in and he can play. He can still play, but he is very limited in his playmaking abilities on what he can do compared to a lot of the guys that I guarantee you Mario is going to bring. I'm just putting it out there like that. He's not going to start over Wes, and I guarantee you that what is he playing middle right now? Corey Flag is playing the middle.
Yeah,
I think Wesley is going to end up being a middle linebacker. I don't think he's going to end up staying outside. I think he's going to end up playing in the middle. So now, where does that leave Corey Flag? Is he going to go to the outside? Not really, because he can't really cover well, right? So his thing is coming downhill, right? He's a downhill type of linebacker. He probably can't cover as well. But that doesn't mean he's not a hard worker. That doesn't mean that he's not a good linebacker. He's a decent linebacker. He's a good, good little decent linebacker. But I think he's going to be the kind of guy that's going to be, here on the depth chart, and he's going to be,
unless they change schemes and go to a 3-4, so maybe he would fit
could
in.
Be
on
a different story.
Because
I agree.
Then you would have two guys that could cover. That they could play downhill in the middle, like he and Wesley could play that middle side, and then James Williams could be on the outside, and then they pick somebody else up. I just think that James Williams,
he needs to learn how to tackle with his arms.
Yeah, but he will if he's closer to the play. If he's in freaking Belgium and way back there filming the damn plays every time, he's never gonna be part of the game. But I think that's why that's what Pat Surtain did to him at American Heritage. He says, "Hey, James, get your ass down in the box here." Because we don't need all 6'5", 220 pounds of you being 72 yards off the damn play. And they don't. They've got guys in the safety. I really believe they have guys in the safety that are going to be fine. I mean, Alvante Williams, obviously, we have to wait and see what that guy does if he ever wakes up, because he's got talent. But I definitely think I would like to see, if you go in there to start the season with Wesley, Flag, James, and then get another marquee guy to play on the other side, you've done pretty well, I think, from an athletic standpoint. And then you get Leonard Taylor, and you've got you got to get another 2 tackles in, or another DN guy in that can make plays, and their defense will be shored up. And the secondary sometimes was not benefited from a consistent pass rush from the front 7. So they would sit back there longer than they needed to be. And remember, the ACC still produces 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers who are physical. So it's the days of the 5'9", 180-pound guys that you got to cover are over. So you're going to have pretty decent and pretty active corners, that will press, but guys who can cover. See, Tyreek would be that perfect guy, but I just think his hips are too tight for that. He's, like you said before, Jazz, he's probably more of a safety type, but right now that's all Miami has. Corey Flag, that's all Miami has. See, if Miami has Justin Flo or somebody like that, it's a different story. But would Justin Flo make a move to come to Miami over in Alabama, over USC, over no? You see, that's what I'm saying. That's Miami's got to get.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with you on that. I kind of disagree with you, because I think we could have said the same thing for some of the guys that have already committed here. I mean, look at the class that that Cristobal already has here, and you're thinking, how the hell does he keep that class together when we just went 5-7? So I think that.
No, I understand what you're saying, but if he stays,
I think you can get a guy like that to come here.
Yeah, well, only time will tell. But remember, Lanning's a pretty damn good defensive guy, and that's a guy that, and he's got a good linebacker coach out there. So If he left, it would have to be for a better opportunity. Is Charlie Strong a better opportunity? Is the defensive coordinator out
If he
here?
wants to be here, if Charlie
Yeah.
Strong wants to be here, yeah, like if he,
Yeah, well,
if he
they're
has
gonna have to make
the
they're
want.
gonna have to make a move, obviously, and we know that after and the whole thing is the coaching staff can't come in and say to Mario, "Yeah, you're wrong. I did this." What did you do? What'd you do? You didn't elevate a damn kid on this team, and that's been. I told you guys
That's
when
my
I
point.
first
Yeah,
met
they
Mario
didn't.
with Mario Cristobal back in May. He asked me, "Blue, what do you think the problem's been? Miami gets all these kids." I said, "They don't get coached up." And he said to me, look right me in the eye and says, "That won't be a problem here." And it was. It was already.
Yeah.
Not one of those coaches elevated any of those players. Who?
That's why I
Who'd
think
they
there's
do?
gonna that's why I think there's gonna be some
No, but I'm
changes on
saying,
that staff. No, you're absolutely right.
Vish, do you agree? I mean, who would you say, what spot on that team was elevated because of a coach,
Yeah.
not because a
No.
player got better?
I don't even think, even from a player standpoint, you could say even the ones that stood out, like even Kitchens, right? He was probably the one that stood out, probably our best player by the end of the year.
He's not because Jamila died.
No,
Right. And it was by the end of the year. It took a
Yeah.
long time to get
Yeah.
there. Like he was busting coverages at the beginning of the year too. So yeah,
He busted. That's the misconception. He did not bust a ton of coverages. He busted maybe one or two, and that happens to every single safety in America. You can bust a coverage or two. If you look at the tape, it's not just busted coverages. I think that's a misconception because of all those big plays that happen. Not necessarily because he busted coverages. So I think that's just a little overplayed, and I overplayed it, and I think we all
So
did. Because
when the corner releases the ball back, releases the receiver back to the safety, and the safety is not there, someone effed up.
right.
That happened significantly at the beginning of the year. It wasn't just once or twice. Now maybe you can say it wasn't him; it was the corner.
How many times do you think it happens? Because
You mean to us?
yeah, to us. How many times do you think it happened? Because I think we relate one or two or three to more to like 10. And I don't think it happened that many times. I think we relate to it because we go crazy. Oh my God, we busted the coverage again. Number one, it wasn't always on his side. Number two, I think that we relate to, oh my God, it happened a couple times and they hit some 80-yard passes against MTSU, or they broke a tackle, or the eyes were somewhere else, or it was a mistake by someone and it wasn't really a so there's a lot of things that go into it that I think that we're seeing one thing and reacting to that when it could have been something completely different.
I mean, we were one of the worst teams in the country at giving up big plays.
Okay.
What is a safety's job? It's in the name.
Okay.
So I don't see how we can laud our safety.
So we gave up some big plays. But is it always?
We were one of the worst teams in the country at something, and the safety's job was to prevent that.
Were we? Are you 100% sure we were?
Yes. Kevin Steele made a fool of that reporter because he hadn't does research. Then people looked it up after the fact. We were like 107th in big plays. He's just like, what big plays? He knew the guy didn't have the data in front of him.
Yeah, he didn't have the data.
And that was before Florida State rammed it up. Anyway.
Yeah, we have given up some big plays, absolutely. But I just don't think that it's putting it all on the safeties.
It's not all on the safeties.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is no one's hands are clean.
No, and everybody has made a mistake. But to say that he blew a whole bunch of coverages, I think is.
I didn't say he blew a whole bunch. I said he blew coverages as well. Everyone did.
Yeah, everyone did. But that's okay. It's going to happen to even the best corners or the best safeties. Now, it happened more to our corners and and some of our other guys than anything else because our corners suck. Right? If we're gonna speak plainly, our corners are bad, and so when our corners are bad, then of course our safeties are gonna look bad as well because there's only so much that they can do. What did he say, Pip? I think that's what a major part of the disappointment is with this team.
I agree.
With all those talented players in the roster, not one showed out or looked vastly improved. Well, Blue mentioned this, right? Like, was it a really talented team? Because the talent didn't show. So what is talent, right? Talent needs to it's talent. They were talented in high school, but are they talented in college, right? This is a completely different game. Now you've got to up your game and you've got to be better. And certain guys just don't progress and don't continue to be these talented players. We're talking about talent like if it's, like everybody is really talented on our roster. How many players were on our roster that can start at other Power 5 programs, the big time top 25 schools? You got to look at that. What are we talking about when it comes to talent? I'm one that was guilty by saying that we're more talented than certain teams out there. We obviously weren't. So I think that it seems like it's a big disappointment because we were more talented, but were we really more talented? Because
So
we didn't
I
have the
think it's
depth.
probably both. I think certainly I was guilty of overestimating the talent,
So
but
was
also
I.
like we
So was
didn't
I.
coach up a damn thing this year.
No, we didn't. It was a mixture of everything. It was a mixture of everything.
And I think that's what Pimped Out's getting at. Is like, how could not one player wow, that guy's really maximizing his talent. I don't think you can say that about anyone on this team.
I never watched a game this season where I was just like, wow, he's going to be able to take it to the next level as he progresses throughout the season. Everybody kind of either stayed where they were or regressed, and that was not fun to watch.
And look, and I think that has a lot to do with the coaching as well. But it's definitely has to do with the player and how I mean, was it that hard to pick up Coach Steele's defense? Is it that hard to pick up Coach Gaddis's offense, or is it a mixture of both things? Well, it looks like you want to say something there, yeah.
Well, I do because I mean you look at a lot of the injuries, especially on the front, for guys that you expected a lot of. Obviously, Messidor was somebody we look forward to. We didn't really have a grasp. Jafari Harvey, who played pretty well. Then you look at Chance Williams. You look at guys like him, and you look at Harrison Hunt, and you look at obviously Leonard Taylor, and guys up front that you still have Nigel Lee Kelly for the future. You have Cyrus Moss. You have guys like that who really didn't take a great part. Jacob Lichtenstein, who everybody talked about
he kind of disappeared,
major way at the beginning of the year. So what happened was there was not a lot of those players that we talked about that stayed healthy or that was around. We talked about Chance Williams. This could be the year that he turned the corner. All right, he didn't turn anything.
He turned the corner, all right.
Yeah.
He got lost in the neighborhood, though.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, the guys, and I agree with what Vish was saying. I don't think, we didn't have a healthy enough roster that was thin to begin with. And I had high hopes for guys like Harrison Hunt. And I had high hopes for people like that. Miami's potential talent, and we sat here, I still remember, we sat here in August when all of us went through the positions and said who would be the opening day starters. And there were, to me, when you looked at, like, especially the defensive front, with all those guys that I mentioned, with the emergence of some of the other guys, and Nigel Lee Kelly, who's going to be one of the Bears when he gets, to that point where, he gets experience and he's growing, and he'll probably come back at 270 next year. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we looked at the beginning of the year, like the kid Jordan Miller, and we looked at, Moultrie, and we looked at Moten and these guys like that. But when season, and especially because I remember how everybody was over the moon about Jacob Lichtenstein and, how Darrell Jackson was going to come in and rescue. And I remember when we were going over all these names, and we talked about Cyrus Moss and Thomas Davis and all these guys who were supposed to be, in the mix. And now at season's end, look at where all those guys are. And
I will say this: the defensive line was probably the best position group of the whole entire team. And that's just saying.
That's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah, it's not saying a lot. But look, Hakeem Messidor played himself into a high
different level, though. And we sat there, we didn't know how good he really was going to be.
We didn't. And that's the funny thing, right? We were all talking, like you said, we're all talking about, well, Moultrie was a badass at UAB, and Lichtenstein, Lichtenstein was, oh my God, his spring game looked great. He looked awesome. And, now you got Leonard Taylor played well. He had some bouts of inconsistency, but for the most part, he had a pretty solid year. It was really him and Hakeem Messidor who had the best years, I think, on that line. But you're still talking about a line that was good.
Yeah,
it wasn't
deep.
It wasn't deep great
because of the injuries, and they could have been a deeper team. Yeah. And if people worked out, like I said, like Chance Williams, I thought this would definitely be the year that he would turn the corner. I liked what I saw out of Harrison Hunt. I mean, here's a guy to me, physical and all that, but see, and then you kind of like infuse guys like Nigel Lee Kelly. Now Nigel Lee's going to have one of those off seasons where he comes in the spring and he's got to battle for a starting job.
Yep.
See, that's what's going to happen. I mean, because he's a guy that wants to be there. You know that he's going to get in the weight room. You know he's going to get big. He's one of those guys that Mario Cristobal would look at and he goes, this cat wants to be here. And, he's in that. So I'm sure I'm not privy to the board, but I like to see their board now, a board where guys that they think they probably put guys that they know that are going to push them over the top. Then they have a group that, and then they have another group that are gone. So what has to happen, you got to take that group that are going, race them off and start replacing them. Not with just not with just freshman kids, but with established guys that you could plug in and play. And if you could get them there early enough and not bring them in June and July, but bring them in January and bring them into the, for that semester, that's what I would do. And like I said before, every college needs, instead of adding 9,000 guys to your recruiting deal, you need to have somebody work the portal. You have to have somebody really good working the portal. See, that's where this all is going. So if, they hire Jazz Santana tomorrow to work the portal, you can find out that the Arizona State defensive end, who's 6'5", 310, wants to get out of there. And this kid's a cat, man. He could come in here and play. So you got to know that. So when I
promise you that they have a team that's working specifically on that, and that's been working on that for a while now. I guarantee
but you know
that.
what? It takes.
I know for a fact that they're doing it.
Yeah,
but that's where it starts, all right? That's where it starts. They got to.
And in this day and age, that's where you can't. But like I said, remember all the guys that somebody like a Gaddis or Mario or Mirabal or any of those guys, they've coached a lot of games over the last couple of years. And there were like incoming freshmen or sophomores that they said to themselves, wait a minute, when that kid becomes a junior, he's going to be a beast. So now that kid's a junior and he may be at Stanford and he may be at Oregon. He may be at Wisconsin. And these are the guys where and I know what you're saying, Jazz. They have a couple of people that are watching, but I'm talking about somebody like, that is a great evaluator of talent that has to look by the statistics, because truthfully, if somebody sat there in Wisconsin now and looked at Miami's thing, Corey Flagg had 26 tackles more than anybody else on the team. So they'll be like, oh, man, that guy. See, so you got to watch, and you got to
watch the tape.
You just can't go on stats.
Of course, 100%. I'm with you on that. You have to go on tape. You got to watch tape because, the old cliche that the tape doesn't lie, I think is a fact. It's the truth. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts. There's going to be a lot of crazy things going on. And now in Blue, now they have that guy. They have that talent evaluator in Alonzo Highsmith and, of course, Mario and some of the other guys. And there's guys that are evaluating talent that a lot of people may not know are doing it also. And we'll just have to wait and see, right? December 5th can't come any sooner when we finally figure out who's gonna hit that transfer portal and who's going to leave from here and who's leaving from other programs. We obviously have heard a bunch of guys that are already entering the transfer portal from a lot of different schools. Cade McNamara left, has entered the transfer portal. Damian George, a big offensive lineman from Alabama, who started some this year, is also in the transfer portal. There's a ton. The list goes on and on and on. So I'm not going to name them all because there's been already, Dante Thornton, that's another kid. Seven McGee, who obviously entered the transfer portal. He's, been said to be working out down here and everything. So there's a lot of movement, and there's also players that nobody's ever heard of that are playing in the FCS level or playing at some other schools that people don't know about, that are absolutely big-time Power 5 talents as well. So we're going to see a lot of that starting December 5th, and we'll have something special for you guys on that as well. Really quick, we'll go over offense as a whole because I think we took too much time on the defense anyways. But I think the biggest question marks Actually, no, they're all a big question
Here's the
mark.
grade, F minus. All right, now let's go position.
Yeah, the whole
Take it as
offense.
a whole.
The whole
Take it as
offense,
a
yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
You can't score. It's kind of an important thing for an
Is
offense.
there anything less than an F minus that we
I
can
mean,
give?
we did move the ball well that one game at one point. I don't
That
know
one
which one
game.
it was, but at
The
one
North
point I
Carolina
distinctly
game,
remember the ball going. Yeah, it was North Carolina.
North Carolina.
We didn't
North
score a lot
Carolina.
of points, but the ball moved. So that's where it's only 1 minus instead of like 3.
Oh man, look, it's hard to give a grade. I guess I don't want to take up too much time on it, but the offensive line, obviously a huge disappointment. But if at the end of the year we're starting a 270-pound left tackle, and we're who's a fourth string guy. We're starting third and fourth string guards as well. You're really not going to get much further than where you got, anyways. It's not a matter of talent development there. It's a lack of depth. And Blue, we talked about this ad nauseum before the season, right? Depth is going to be still an issue in the offensive line. Got a lot of young players. You can't really count on S. Cooper there. He came in and he actually played pretty well for a freshman.
Very well.
John Campbell actually didn't play too bad as a left tackle, but you're talking about, look, Zion Nelson wasn't even around. And I don't even know. I think the hype was a little bit overstated for him anyways. But, he's still a piece, right? He's still depth. Didn't play the whole entire season. At the guard position, Jalen Rivers got hurt early. Ja'Kai Clark hasn't really played up to the level that we thought he could. G.J. Scaife is not a right tackle, playing out of position, not a great talent either. Then at right guard, you just had a carousel of guys go through there, and then the depth just was not there at all. So disappointing all around for me on the offensive line. I'll put it this way: what grade would you give the offensive line? Because I don't want to go into too much of a breakdown there. But DJ, what grade would you give them?
C minus. I mean, they weren't awful, but they were definitely disappointing, especially since I believe I rated them highly in the preseason. Yeah. But that's why I'm not a betting man and why I don't gamble on these games because I would lose all my money and live in a cardboard box.
Vish, what grade would you give the offensive line?
D minus.
D minus. Blue, what about you?
Could we give them a Z?
We can give them a Z. We can give them a Z.
Well, they ended with 9 guys. I think 8 or 9
bad.
At the end of the year. And you look at Lawrence Seymour and, like you said, Ja'Kai Clark. And, I mean, the kid Matthew McCoy never really got
He never played, really, yeah.
Yeah, and John Campbell, as you mentioned, and the Logan Sagapalo. And, I'd say the D would be doing them justice and has no reflection. Because I don't want this to get back and my guy Maribal get all upset at me. But, the whole thing is, it is what it is. I mean, you have no depth if you don't have anybody to work with. But I think if they work hard with Lawrence Seymour and he gets his ass in the gear, he has the opportunity to be really, really special for him. Like you said, Rivers got hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. And he was playing okay. He wasn't playing as good, but he's still better than whatever we had out there. Now, look, my issue is also though some of these guys are small, man. Like Ines Cooper is not. He looks like a freaking beast out there. But some of these guys are small. Ja'Kai is a small guy. Lawrence Seymour is a smallerish guy as well. TJ Scaife as well. And if you know anything, and Blue, and I think Vish and DJ, as well. If you know anything about the type of offensive line that Mario and Alex Mirabal want to have,
this ain't it.
This ain't it. It's some big mammoth human beings. We're talking about 6'6", 6'5", 6'7" guys all throughout, even at center.
And look at South Carolina. I watched them the other day. They blew Clemson right off the damn ball at times because they were 6'7", 293, 6'6", 305. Guys that were agile, guys that had long wingspans.
Not for nothing, but the Pitt offensive line averaged 310 pounds.
Yeah,
and that's why they have Izzy Abanikanda back there rushing for 1,500 yards for the season.
Yeah.
You need those ginormous dudes, and that's what Mario is going to. And trust me, I mean, some of the guys that he's already got. I mean, Francis Magaoa is not a small guy. Connor Lewis.
Frankie Tanalou is not small either.
Frankie Tanalou, and I know he needs a little bit of development, but he's 6'7", 305, 310 pounds already. You can't, right? And that's what he wants. He wants those big guys that he can run the football with, right? And Connor Lew is gonna take a spot next year. I guarantee you, right? Like these are the type of guys. And now if he gets Samson is 6'7", 320 pounds. I mean, those are the type of guys that Mario wants to bring in. He's gonna bring in some transfer portal offensive linemen as well. Without that, this offense is not going to be crap. I don't care who it is, who the offensive coordinator is. If you don't have a good offensive line, you're going to get your quarterback killed anyways. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's get a grade on the quarterbacks. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to go with D for disappointment. D for disappointment because I was.
That's not the way the letter grades work.
Well, that's how mine work. D for disappointment because it's not really about being disappointed in Ja'Carri Brown and Jake Garcia. I was actually disappointed in Tyler Van Dyke, right? You are a big time quarterback. Okay, you're coming in. You had a solid campaign last year. I know, albeit with a different offense and a lot of different players, but you're rated as one of the best quarterbacks in the country coming in. You got to be better than that to start off the season. Okay, the way that he started off the season, regardless of offensive scheme or whatnot, it's kind of unacceptable the way he started. Then he got things going a little bit. Then he got hurt, and he never recovered after that. So I'm really disappointed in the way that he came out. And I'm kind of disappointed in the development of the quarterbacks as well. I think Ja'Carri Brown showed us glimpses of what he can be. Still needs a year of development. I know, Vish, I keep telling you that. I probably drive you crazy with saying that about Ja'Carri Brown, but I think he's got the intangibles, right? He's got that Vince Young-esque look that everybody talks about how that's what he looks like. A lot of people are saying that. Slow down on the Vince Young thing. Vince Young was a Heisman kind of guy. He won a national title, one of the best college quarterbacks ever. You know, if you kind of want to put him in that conversation, you definitely can. But I see what they're talking about. Another type of regression. We're going to go with Jake Garcia, completely regress as well as to what we thought that he was going to be, how he was going to be able to develop. It's just been a disappointment all around. I'd be very interested to see. And this goes also on the coaches as well. I think Frank Ponce, kind of struggled in developing these guys as well. And I don't know what happened with TVD, whether it was something in his head, it was outside influences, whatever the case was. He just did not play great. Okay, he did not play great. He kept getting hurt. Okay, and then we kept throwing him out there, which was kind of stupid to begin with. But point is, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year. Probably going to see a lot of movement at that quarterback position. Is TVD going to come back? Is Jake Garcia going to move on? And what's going to happen with Ja'Carri and Emory Williams coming in next year? Also, there's a lot of movement there. Are we going to go after a transfer portal guy? Because look, I hate to throw out the name because I know a lot of people are not a fan of it, but Cade McNamara went 12-0 with Josh Gaddis as his offensive coordinator last year, and I know he got beat out by JJ McCaffrey this year. McCaffrey, right? Yeah, JJ McCaffrey. I'm sorry, excuse me, McCarthy. This year,
or McCaffrey, whatever.
Or McCaffrey, right? But he did go 12-0 with Josh Gaddis last year. So a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you bring him in here? I'm not saying I want him here. I'm just saying there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to start hitting the portal now. You're going to see a lot of movement there as well. I'm not excited about what happened with the quarterback position. I think I was very disappointed. I expected better things from the quarterback position. I'm going to go with a D for disappointment. Vish, what do you got? We'll go the other way around this time.
I'll go with the C. I agree what you said overall, but we talked about this in the preseason. Like, we couldn't afford an injury there. And that's why it was harder on the offensive line. Your number one job is to not get the quarterback killed. And as bad as Van Dyke was at the beginning of the year, he took a pounding.
Yeah, he did.
And, this offensive line could not pick up a blitz to save its life. And that's what ultimately got him injured and ultimately really killed the season. Because at that point, you're probably going – that's a good one, Gary. That's for the whole offense, not just in the quarterbacks. Well, using Jazz's grading system, the whole offense should get a C. That is correct. But the offensive line got him injured, and that did derail the season because I don't think anyone really thought Ja'Carri was ready to play this year extensively. I have no idea what happened to Jake. Well, we didn't see Jake Garcia play a lot last year either. So
We did it.
So
But we
I
thought
mean,
that just based off of what we saw, oh my God, he's going to be, he's going to be great.
right? But I think this whole year, like any predictions we had, everything was predicated on Tyler Van Dyke is going to be outstanding.
Right. True.
And he wasn't, and then he finally started playing better, and then he got injured.
Yep.
So I'll give it a C just because I think Van Dyke did some good things this year, and I do think the season would have gone a lot better with him. And it's hard to grade on injuries, but yeah, no, it's definitely he was disappointed at the beginning of the year, and then again, starting with that, that North Carolina game, he played really well. It just, as Gary said, couldn't score, and then he got hurt.
You know what? Flo did mention something on the show yesterday that I've been thinking about the whole entire season, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I can't believe I haven't even mentioned it. But is it me? And he asked the same thing. Is it me, or did he look a lot less mobile this year than he did last year? Because you saw he was struggling.
He looked like he was afraid to take a hit.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that might have played a
few of them. Though.
That might have played a big part in it. However, the best way to sometimes avoid a hit is to get out of the pocket because he got drilled in the pocket, right? He got drilled at the line. So, to my point is, he just didn't look as mobile. Period. Like it wasn't even about scrambling. He just didn't look as mobile. I don't know if he put on bad weight or what the hell happened, but I don't know about you guys, but did I see something wrong there, or am I right? Just did not look as mobile as he did last year.
No, he was more of a pocket passing type of quarterback this year, I thought. And, part of his game last year, meaning 2021, that worked in his favor was his ability to scramble. And like you said, he just didn't have it this year. And that part of his game was definitely missed, if only for protecting himself.
No kidding. What's your grade, Blue, on the quarterback position?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, obviously, Sharon Moore has done pretty good with J.J. McCaffrey. I mean, he's 12-0 too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he runs a different type of offense as well. I mean, it's still what they had. I'd say C- because at least you get a chance to see one of the quarterbacks that has an opportunity to compete for the future. And Ja'Cory Brown. Obviously, I definitely think that Jake Garcia took 9 steps back. He didn't look anywhere like he did. I don't think Tyler's back, guys. I just think he goes to like SMU, or I really do. I just don't think that I would love to see him back, and I'm sure Mario, but what is there to keep him here? That's my point. He's got all the ability, and we've said he's got ability. Everybody saw it. NFL scouts saw it last year. Strong, fairly strong arm, good, accurate arm.
Right.
But I just think that if he's back, it's a difference. But I don't know. I just didn't. If I'm him, what am I coming back for?
I think there's a couple of things. One is I would be surprised. Obviously, I don't have any insider knowledge, so this isn't a prediction. I'd be surprised based on what we saw if there was any movement on the offensive staff of some kind. And at the end of the day, if TVD comes back, he is, barring something bizarre happening, going to be pretty much guaranteed to be the starting quarterback.
Oh, no doubt.
At a P5 ACC team.
He is a P5.
Yeah. So and as much as as bad as we were this year,
and we can win with him. We can win with him.
Right. So Blue asked what's keeping him here. That's what's keeping him here.
Well,
as much as going to SMU is like going to a coordinator.
Well, I just mentioned
he would go for like 6,000.
You go to Notre Dame, which is a P5. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed.
Here.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed to start in those situations. SMU, he would definitely probably walk in and start. He knows the offensive corner. I get that, but that's dropping down a level. Like that is not the level of Miami, and he's pretty much the starting quarterback at Miami if he comes back.
But Vish,
quarterbacks rarely transfer in those situations.
Vish, it's all about development. Okay, and he's going to get to the NFL no matter what. So if you're with a school with Lashley at SMU, you're going to continue to develop. You're going to be an NFL quarterback. Or if you stay here, you're going to put the stakes in the ground, and he's going to be the guy, but people around him are not going to be what he needs. So I don't know.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. I think TVD wants to be here. Okay, I think he wants to come back. But he is going to keep a close eye on what we do with the offensive staff. And if he's not convinced in what we do, or if there's changes that are going to be made, he does have a very good relationship with one certain Tommy Reese. And we all know where Tommy Reese is, right? So he
Right.
does have a really good relationship with him because of family. It's a family thing, from what I understand. So if there's anywhere that I see him leaving to, which sucks, if there's anywhere that I see him going, it is to Notre Dame. And I
Yeah.
know it's been talked about. I know a lot of people are mentioning Notre Dame a lot with TVD's name, but I think the only way he leaves is if he's truly not 100% happy with the situation here from the offensive side of the ball. If we bring in a guy, or even if Gaddis stays and they kind of switch, I don't know what's going to happen there. I know there's a lot of rumors and a lot of things swirling, and we won't speculate on what happens with Coach Gaddis or anything like that. If we had it our way, I think that it might be in his best interest to not be back. And when I say that, I'm talking about, Coach Gaddis. But at the same time, I think that the offense is going to go as that quarterback position goes. And if TVD is here and he's healthy, then there's an opportunity to win football games. If he's not here, then I think you better go to the transfer portal and get yourself a nice quarterback, because if not, you're going to struggle here again next year.
Yep. But look at the year Spencer Rattlers had. You see, that's what I'm saying.
He had a
Change
crappy year
some-
though until he started beating Tennessee. He beat Tennessee and Clemson. I mean,
Yeah,
not a
but
crappy year. He was okay. You know what I mean?
Now
But
he got 12 touchdowns in 2 games. And,
yeah, now he's a
yeah,
first rounder again. It's
which is
unbelievable.
12 more than Miami had.
Didn't he get
So,
he got benched in the middle of the season, if I recall correctly?
I don't remember.
yeah, he
what,
got benched early in the year,
He
but
did,
then
right?
all of a sudden,
yeah.
but
they
then he
didn't
beat the
start him.
crap out of 2 top 10 teams.
yeah,
Crazy.
which kind of changes the whole thing.
Yep. So, last and not least, we'll do a duel here. We'll do wide receivers and running backs. I think as a whole, the running back position, again, riddled with injuries. I know Parrish. I don't know what happened to DJ there, but
he got riddled with an injury too.
yeah, he did. I bet he did. Look, the situation at running back is this, right? There's a lot of injuries. Henry Parrish was solid. He was the best running back. He played great when he was on the field, though, because he got hurt a lot also. We can't really say anything for Don Chaney at this point. I love Don. I think he could have been the best running back on this team, but I think at this point, it might be a good idea for him to maybe start fresh somewhere else. And maybe
Chaney.
Chaney. I think a change might be good for him. I don't know. I love Don Chaney. I think he can come in and he can start on this team, but he's just had too many issues, too many injuries, and I don't know. It's tough, man. That's tough. I don't know how many players we've seen come back from so many different injuries and be a really successful running back at the same place. You see Robert Burns kind of playing a little bit better at UConn now that he's out. I don't know, man. I love him, but I think that he needs to move on.
Robert Burns, he's got to be older than you.
I think he's like 38. He's close. He's a year younger than me. But for me, I think, look, another one that I know some people want him back because he's shown flashes of the old Rooster, but I don't know if Rooster sticks around either.
You got Citizen coming in, and
a Citizen coming in. You got Parrish that's going to stay here. We know Thad is moving on. As our friend Vish likes to call him, Luscious Stanley. I know he's leaving. He's a 6-year guy, so he but
if they get one of these marquee backs, like a
or two. I'm just saying. And Blue, they're going in the transfer portal and getting a stud running back. I guarantee.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna do it again. So it's it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that running back group. So I'm gonna give them a C just because they've had so many injuries. And the wide receivers, I'm gonna give them probably a D-. It's just, forget about the only injury was really to X and maybe a little bit of Jacoby George, but he still hadn't shown me anything yet. And I love Jacoby George. I've always said that I thought he was probably the most talented wide receiver on this team, but still hasn't shown me crap either. I think it's Xavier Restrepo. Kobe Young came in towards the middle to end of the season, and there's no surprise that his productivity died down once TVD got hurt also, right? Shocker there.
And
But
Frank Ladson on and
Frank,
off, and
another one that was very disappointing. So
Michael
Brashard
Redding
Smith,
a little bit on and off.
then he got
Romello
a little
Brinson
banged
never
up.
has a chance.
Nothing. And you know what? Romello Brinson is a guy that works really hard. Don't
Yeah.
make no mistake about it. He's a hard working player. There's a lot of rumors out there about certain things and which are not true about Romello. So I would be I'll be honest with you. I'd be surprised if Romello doesn't actually stick around and fight it out. I think that he might be that guy that might do that. But that wide receiver core is going to look completely different. I don't see anybody but X, Kobe Young, and Brashard.
Even Brashard Smith's had some pretty good.
But Brashard is kind of like a Swiss Army knife kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I can see him doing a lot of different things.
But I'm
and
saying
maybe another guy.
At least he you know what, he made contributions and
Right.
improved. And I think that pretty much from a talent standpoint, the most disappointing is Michael Redding, because I watched Michael since he was in, like early high school years. Smart kid, ran really good patterns. He just has no leadership, and that's something you're going to have on this team. I mean, I said, Jacoby George kind of didn't do it for me from day one. He's too on and off. So I would, like you said, if you're going to keep, if Romello Brinson's going to stay around, use his ass.
Yeah.
Use him.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, do you guys agree with those ratings? I would give a C to the running backs and probably a D- or a D to the wide receivers. How do you guys feel, DJ and Vish?
Yeah, the wide receivers I thought were extremely underwhelming this year. I mean, I know they had injuries, like you guys said, to X especially. X's loss was felt, but running backs, I felt Parrish had some really good games. Then he kind of tailed off a little bit, and that could be said almost for the entire position. It was kind of interesting to see Knighton have 72 yards this past weekend, but he was hampered with injuries, so it was just an injury-riddled position for both the running backs and wide receivers, and quite honestly, they didn't show enough as a unit to get it done.
I agree. Vish, any thoughts?
Yeah, Knighton fumbled again this weekend, and
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
We're lucky we got it back.
I know. I literally turned to my friend. I was like, maybe this game will go our way. We finally got recovered one of these. Boy, was I wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't know what's going on. The running back is probably the only position where like there's plenty of talent here that's underperforming. I think a lot of the other positions, like we need new players in there.
Yeah,
like you mentioned, I mean, Chaney just keeps getting hurt. He'll probably, might look elsewhere, especially as we have new guys coming in, Citizen healthy next year.
Yep.
How many carries is he really going to get? But it's probably I still don't know why Knighton keeps fumbling. But it's probably the position I'm least worried about, especially if you can do something with the offensive line.
I agree.
There's a dime a dozen really good running backs, so I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think receivers are almost opposite.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, we just need a talent.
Well, hey, Tyrese Chambers, Theo Wees just entered the transfer portal. I know some of those names Blue, but
we need a complete talent overhaul on the receiver position.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you a place we don't is at tight end. I think in 2 years it may be the best tight end room in the nation.
Do you see the haul that we're bringing in? Those three hosses.
Oh, those are all studs.
Yep.
They're all, plus, you still remember Arroyo was hurt, and he didn't get a chance. Yep. And he was definitely a decent target. And then you got Mammarelli, who I think still hasn't had an opportunity.
I think he's leaving. I think Mammarelli will be leaving.
Yeah, but if he,
I'll tell you the guy to look out for, Blue.
Jaleel Skinner
is Khalil Brantley. Actually,
yeah,
he came on at the end of the season. They just didn't find him because
But will he get an opportunity? Because you're bringing in some pretty decent guys.
I think Mario likes him though. I think Mario likes him a lot. I think Mario likes Khalil a lot. And I like him.
Skinner.
Jaleel, yeah. He just needs to learn how to. He's another Will Mallory right now. Can't block for crap. So
neither can Gesicki, and he's like amongst the best tight end catching tight ends in the NFL.
Gesicki he's like a wide receiver playing tight end. So they put him out wide more than anything else. You see Durham Smythe, and anyway, we're getting into the Dolphins there. No, never mind. So some recruiting nuggets before we get out of here. I know a lot of you heard already, but expect some big splashes, some big names coming out real soon here as Mario is making some huge moves with some big time high school. This is a high school guys, because look, at the end of the day, the portal guys are going to get you there quicker for the most part, right? Because they're more developed, they're older guys.
But the high school keeps you on the map.
It's about the high school kids and the development that you can have with these high school kids, and if you can get some big time home run commits like Miami is looking to get right now, just be on the lookout, because what they're going to do right now is just from little nuggets that I have, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun for you fans that love recruiting, because I know a lot of you don't get excited about recruiting because it doesn't mean anything until they get on the field, and I get that and I understand that too. But I think, look, at the end of the day, the big teams win with the best players, okay? And that the whole thing of stars doesn't matter is a joke. It's crap. It's bull crap. You win with the best players. That's why the Clemsons and the Alabamas and the Georgias and the USCs now, obviously, but these big time programs that are at the top all the time, this is why they win, because they have the best talent. They get all the 5 stars and they get all the high end 4 stars, and they develop their players, but you got to get those guys. Miami's making some moves with some big time guys that they are in competition with those type of teams. And Mario's no slouch, and Mario's he's used to going against the Alabamas and the Georgias and beating them. As you can see, he's already beat them for a couple of guys like Cormani McLean and Malik Bryan and so on. So Francis and the list goes on. So keep it locked, because you're going to get some really, really, really interesting news soon, potentially on the defensive side of the ball too, which obviously we could always use some big time players there. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's looking really good also. So keep it locked. It's hard to say much more than that, but I think that early national signing day is going to be a fun one for the Miami Hurricanes. Good. We'll have an early signing day special for you guys. We'll do like a little roundtable thing. Well, Gary has a special request for you, Vish, on the chat. Gary has a special request for you. Yeah, we're gonna skip Manscaped tonight.
Yeah, Gary, I can talk about quantum computing if you want, but
yes,
Manscaped, I will not be doing.
He is a foremost world-renowned expert in quantum.
Well, it didn't say world-renowned.
Whatever, I'm just throwing that in there. It sounds nice.
Go ahead, and embellish at this point.
I don't even know what that is. This is why I just write.
None of us know what it is. None of us know. I don't think Vish knows. Oh man.
Okay, I do know what it is.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. It's
not true. I did talk publicly about it. So
Vish wants to punch you right now, and do that off stream.
Vish had an ear. He had an earpiece on. I
did not. I studied.
Oh man. Make sure you guys keep it locked here every Monday night at 8:30 for the Six Rings Kane Show. We'll also do some college football, like playoff stuff for you as well. I think we should, considering we're not
get some guests. We'll get some guests.
Yeah, we'll get some guests, and we'll do some playoff football, some playoff college football. We'll go through some of the big time bowls, and what our thoughts are on. Yeah, maybe we'll do like our top 10 or our top 12 of.
We'll do a bowl show,
and we'll definitely do a bowl show. That's what we're looking for. Maybe do it in the next couple of weeks as we gear up for bowl season. So that'll be fun to watch. But make sure you keep it locked for the recruiting shows, as well as we will have a host of people coming on talking about some recruiting as well, because now it's recruiting season, it's transfer portal season, and that's what we got to look forward to. So make sure you keep it locked for that. Vish, DJ, Blue, always a pleasure. We'll see you guys next Monday night. See you later.
The Six Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The Six Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The Six Rings Kane Show. You know.